Hi, this is Michael Duarte for NBC LA, and we are here for another episode of Discover Your Dodgers. Today we are with Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher and number one prospect in the system, Walker Buehler. So let's get to know him a little bit. Now, Walker, you were born in Lexington, Kentucky, is that right? Mm-hmm. So my first question, I think I know the answer, but I want to be sure. Wildcats or the Cardinals?
Wildcats.
All right, that's what I figured. Now, I also heard growing up that you were a big horse racing fan. Is that true? So how many times did you go to the Kentucky Derby growing up?
I've been to one Derby.
Just one?
Well, yeah, it's during the season, so sometimes it's a little tough to get there, but we have a track in my hometown that we went to a lot.
So did you like dress up with the hat and the nice suit when you went to the Derby?
The girls wear the hats. But yeah, dress up, bow tie, the whole thing.
All right, so I have some questions because I have no idea what an exacta box is or a trifecta. Like, what do those mean?
So exactly, you got to pick the winner and the second place. Trifecta is the top three. Superfecta is the top four. I was a big superfecta guy growing up.
Nail all four?
Yeah, you pick the top four.
Any order or the order they finish?
Depends. If you box it, then you can just have the four. If you do a normal one, you have to pick the order as well.
So you did the superfecta without a box and nailed it?
Box.
Yeah. Did you get it a couple times?
Yeah, at Keeneland, the racetrack, they have a 10-cent superfecta, so it's only $2.40. I think I won like $400 on one.
That's nice. I like that. All right, there's some horse racing lessons for you for the horse bettors out there. Now, a fun fact. I don't even know if you know this, but I don't even know how I'd be able to verify it or prove it as a journalist. But I heard that you hold a Little League strikeout record, averaging 2 strikeouts per inning. That's like insane. So just how dominant were you in Little League? What kind of teams did you play for? And obviously you're a pitcher, but did you play in other positions too?
Yeah, I was okay. I was one of the birthday kids, so I get to play 5 years of Little League. So
nice. It's
a little misleading. I may have been a little older than some of the other kids. So
okay.
I think it was 140 and 66 innings. I think that was the record.
How old were you at that time?
I was actually 12, so I'd always been like the youngest kid, and a couple of my buddies and I got to play an extra year.
What teams were you on Little League? Did they have it like we had it, like Dodgers, Giants?
Like I was a Philly.
You're a Philly?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So you have like a soft spot for the Phillies at all because they're the Little League team?
No, my whole family loves like Philly stuff for a long time, but now they're on the Dodger train.
Okay, so after Little League, he goes to high school, and in high school, you had a 4.3 GPA, right? Smart guy, probably take all honors, IB classes, all the advanced classes?
No, it was kind of the opposite of that. I had a big GPA because I didn't take the hardest classes, I think. So.
Well, if it's over 4.0, it was weighted, so you had to have some of those harder classes to get.
Yeah, it's different. Where I'm from, if it's an advanced class, you get a weighted GPA. So.
Okay. Now, when you got drafted, okay, you went to Vanderbilt. We'll get into that in a second. But when you got drafted, I was on the conference call at Dodger Stadium. We all spoke to you. And I asked you the question, I don't know if you remember this, who your major league comp was. Do you remember your answer?
I think I said Greinke, right?
Exactly. You said Zach Greinke. Now, what I found interesting about that, and after doing some homework on you, Zach Greinke was also a really smart guy in high school growing up. He's got a very analytical mind, numbers and all that stuff. So you're very similar, I've heard, from talking to your coaches and Rick Honeycutt about you. So how does that analytical mind and the intelligence help you on the mound when you're in a game?
I think for me, honestly, it's like a comfort level thing where if you can kind of understand some of the numbers, you can always fall back on that, right? So not having to go with your gut, 100% of the time, you can kind of have a reason. And, if it doesn't work out, like you messed it up, it wasn't the numbers' fault. But sometimes it's a nice little fallback.
So like I said, you go to college at Vanderbilt. It's like every time Walker goes up, he just lands on one of the best teams in the sport. So you won the College World Series with Vanderbilt. You're actually roommates freshman year, and I don't know if beyond that, with former number one overall pick and now shortstop for the Braves, Dansby Swanson. So what were the college days with you and Dansby like? What's something we don't know about him? You guys still talk and text? I imagine you do.
Yeah, we're all pretty close. About 10 of us got together for Fulmer's wedding this offseason, which was a good time. And
one thing about Vanderbilt is you pitched in the College World Baseball Classic at Dodger Stadium. I think that year it was like USC, UCLA, and TCU.
Yep.
So just how cool was that of experience to pitch at Dodger Stadium, even though probably a smaller crowd at that time, but the irony of obviously you then pitching there last year or 2 years later for your MLB debut.
Yeah, at the time it's you're pitching in a Major League Stadium, and it's obviously a cool experience, but now looking back, like it's even cooler because obviously I'm here. So no, it was a fun deal and a good tournament. I think we lost 2 games, but no, it was a cool experience.
So last year, as I said, you make your debut, you get called up in September, coming out of the bullpen. It was a pretty good debut. I was there, watched it, and a lot of fans, have high expectations for you and are a big fan of yours. They've already heard your name already. One of the things, though, about last year is you were potentially in the running. People wanted you to see you on that postseason roster. You don't make it, but you did come to Arizona to stay with the guys getting hot, or like the taxi cab squad, they called it. So, and I know you were at the NLDS. I saw that you were there, though you were out by the foul pole, I guess, in your seats. But how was it being a part of the team, but then as a spectator watching that playoff run? I also know you and your sister, I think, went to some World Series games. Yeah. So what was it watching as a fan? I heard you say that was the best World Series you've ever seen, too.
Yeah, no, it was cool. It's one of those things where September is your first taste of it, and then, you get to watch. You kind of have a different view when you've been there. So just another learning experience, I guess, to watch those guys and obviously, get as close as they did. And, no, it was cool. And then my sister goes to USC, so she was out there, so we got to go to Game 2 together, and it was a good experience.
And when you're at the World Series game, you're obviously rooting for the Dodgers and a fan. That game was potentially tough because they had it, and then the ninth, and then goes to extras. Are you texting some of the guys? Are you biting your nails? What's that like? Because you're vested, where most of the fans are not as vested.
No, I think that may have been the most active my Twitter has ever been. But no, you're just watching and hoping for the best and hoping those guys can pull it out.
We've already talked to the front office, Dave Roberts, Rick Honeycutt, about your season coming up here for 2018. You got an innings limit, I believe, right about 200 innings, so you'll probably start here in OKC to start the season. But at some point, it's inevitable you're coming up. Not out of the pen, they're saying, this year as a starting pitcher. So what are your goals and expectations for this season yourself, knowing that kind of information?
For me, health is always the big thing, and just trying to put together another full, healthy season like I did last year. So wherever I pitch is where I pitch, and try and be as successful as I can be.
What did you learn, I guess, in that short stint at the major league level last year that you can apply this year?
Just the attention to detail is just different. The routines are it's like a really hot buzzword, but no, it's true. You watch a guy like Kershaw and the way that he goes about his business and the consistency that it creates, I think, is a big thing to pull from that.
Guys, that was Walker Buehler. You will definitely be seeing him on the mound at Dodger Stadium this year at some point. We don't know when, but it'll be soon. I want to thank you for joining us, and good luck this year. Thanks, Walker.